final score on Super Tuesday. Altrincham 1, Wrexham 2, and Wrexham on a day when, let's be honest, other stuff happened as well, which was rather nice and which sort of distracted me from getting this podcast out on the same day as the match. I do apologise. Wrexham, by the way, put in a rather excellent performance and got an excellent result. Altrincham came into the game 5th in the table. They had to change venue, which was obviously rather unfortunate for them because their pitch hasn't had a chance to recover because of the bizarre circumstances of this season. And so we played at FC United of Manchester's ground. And Wrexham emerged with an excellent win against a side in very, very good form. We had to work for it, we had to earn it. And Christian Dibble kept us in the game early on. But this was a superb victory. And our unbeaten run now not only equals our best unbeaten run so far this season, it's also the longest unbeaten run equal to Eastleigh in the division. So we go into the Notts County game in good form, which is kind of handy because they look to be in flying form. Anyway, let's have a look at what happened in the match. One change to the Wrexham side in terms of personnel. Dan Jarvis making way, Tyler French coming back in after his suspension. But a major reshuffle in terms of positioning. Mark Carrington shifted back to left-sided centre-back, and on the other side of Kelleher, French tucked in, and Jordan Davis was restored to his central midfield position, having stood in at centre-back last Saturday. And the early signs weren't great. Altrincham started tremendously well for the first 20 minutes, put us under a lot of pressure, and as I said, Christian Dibble in the first half excelled himself. However, this felt different from the likes of the game at Stockport or Chesterfield or Torquay. We were under pressure, a lot of pressure. We tended to defend our penalty area quite well, though. If you think back, and we'll go through it all now, an awful lot of Altrincham's chances were shots from outside the box. Now, it was really interesting. I can't remember the last time I've seen so many decent shots from outside the box from one team. Is that what they usually do? Not that I've noticed, but maybe. Did they think Dibble was vulnerable from distance? I don't know. Was it just a bit of a freak thing? But they were firing off decent shots from outside the area in the first half like there was no tomorrow, and in the second half too. But they didn't make many opportunities in the penalty area. Wrexham defended it well. Ask any manager and they'll say they're happy if the other side have to shoot from outside the box, so they'll back their keeper to not be beaten from range. So yeah, the defensive job was better than it had been in previous matches. And the other massive difference between this game and those previous unhappy away performances was that we had threat going forwards. Now, in those games, they were the sort of matches where when it's 0-0, you think, okay, can we dig in? Can we hang on here? It'd be great if we could. And then once we concede, we've shown nothing really going forward. We fail to keep the ball, and we're in trouble. This was not like that. Wrexham looked sharp and dangerous on the break, and although it took us a while to start making chances, once we did, they were good chances, and quite frankly, we ought to have scored more than the 2 goals that we got. This is a change for where things have been. And quite frankly, in terms of balance of play, I'd say, okay, the first half hour, Altrincham were on top and looked impressive, they're a good team. But the next hour was ours. So an excellent performance by Wrexham. Altrincham's fast start, though, began with a shot after 64 seconds. It was White, the left-back, who looked very adventurous in the first half, driving forwards and from 25 yards out hitting a really stinging shot, which Dibble did well to deal with, going down low to his left to save. Then it was Matty Costello, always an irritation in so many senses of the word, cutting in from the right-hand side as he does, playing a nice 1-2 to get into the box, into a good position, only about 8 yards out now. If he buried this, I think this match could have been very different, but he failed to really get any sort of shot off, and it was blocked. Still, they continue to push on. Still in the first 10 minutes, Wrexham with their first promising position. Nice pass sending Jay Harris into space down the right-hand side. He got to the byline, tried to pull it back for Kwame Thomas, but couldn't hit him. And then from that, Altrincham broke away. Colclough got down the left-hand side, beat French, got into a great position, hit the goal line inside the penalty area, drove it into the near post, and it deflected just wide off. It would seem an Altrincham player as a goal kick was given. Then again, it was Altrincham. Byron Harrison, of course, had time on trial at Wrexham through the pre-season. did well to get to the ball and pull the ball back into the box on the left-hand side. Jay Harris made a great interception, but then lost it. And White, again, not needing any invitation at this time, in the penalty area, lashed in a shot from about 15 yards, whistling at the top left corner. Great save by Dibble to tip it over. So pressure, all that in the first 10 minutes. Harem, Scareham, open game, and it would continue to be an open game. It was tremendous entertainment. And Altrincham asking questions, Dibble very busy, but only really that Costello moment where they got a clear sight of goal and it opened up our defence fully. Wrexham started to get themselves back into it, although Altrincham had the next opportunity, and it was another good one. Wrexham's defence stepping up to try and play Altrincham's on-rushing strikers offside, but the pass went to Byron Harrison, who had timed his run beautifully from a deeper position and was one-on-one with Dibble, but Dibble did ever so well. He sprinted off his line, made himself big, and got the block in. He really closed down the space for the striker. And then Wrexham went straight up the other end and maybe should have scored. Jamie Records driving down the left-hand side, swinging across beyond the far post into the goal mouth. Thomas getting up, got there first, didn't really make much of a contact on it. He had a defender in front of him, so maybe he took his eye, he blinded his view and he couldn't see it coming. But it sort of hit his head, dropped into the goal mouth, and Thomas couldn't quite get to the loose ball. I think if he'd seen it coming, it was a simple finish. But Wrexham now started to make more chances. Davis doing brilliantly when Thompson, the Altrincham keeper, who liked to ping low flat passes out. Actually, it wasn't a bad pass. It looked like a miss hit at first, but it was going straight to a man in the centre circle. But Davis nipped in, intercepted really well, and then drove on through the centre, beat another man, fed Hall Johnson with a pass which was, I'm not going to say overhit, it was one of those passes where your player's got to sprint onto it and has got to hit it first time or it'll go out, but it was in a wonderful position. And Hall Johnson stood it up beautifully to the far post. Thomas unmarked beyond the far post, met it with a powerful header. It hit the post, bounced back out, and then Jamie Record, once again, getting into the 6-yard box. He's in such fine form. Got to it first, drove in a shot, a superb sprawling block to deny him the opportunity. So although, like I said, Altrincham were having a lot more of the ball, Altrincham were testing the goalkeeper, and yet by the 20th minute, Wrexham had the two best chances of the match. Straight up the other end, though. And French did really well to put in a tackle. The loose ball hit first time by Costello from 20 yards, whistle just wide of the top left corner. But by now, Wrexham was starting to hold Altrincham more at length. I was a bit concerned in the first 20 minutes that maybe our defensive line was a touch deep, because there were gaps between the lines, and that concerned me. Altrincham are nice, tidy passing sides. They often use their wide players tucking in, almost making a box midfield, and they drift into interesting areas between the lines. Wrexham, I felt that our lines were a bit too far apart. Also, I mean, ostensibly Davis was the central of the three midfielders and the holding midfielder, but he wasn't playing as a holding midfielder. He was pushing up the pitch as well, and so they were finding gaps in that space. They were passing through the thirds well and finding spaces. And I wondered whether we should step up and try to close that down a little bit. But we started to get a grip in midfield. We started to get to terms with them. I think we were helped by the absence of Jake Moult, who was sent off for Altrincham last Saturday. He was outstanding when Altrincham won 1-0 at the racecourse earlier this season. That game, in case you can't remember, was a funny affair. The first half, Wrexham dominated and looked terrific, but surprise, surprise, couldn't take our chances. And then at the very end of the half, Altrincham got a set piece and scored. The second half, Wrexham were terrible, had a lot of the ball, no threat really, but Jake Moult playing as the holding midfielder, sitting in front of the back four, was just superb and repelled so much. Well, he was suspended for this game, and Toby Malarkey came in his place, who I understand from the commentary is more of a centre-back than a holding midfielder, and it showed. He was quite poor. He was caught in possession a few times, he was cumbersome, and he wasn't moving the ball around like Moult does. So Wrexham, I think, helped in their endeavour to win the battle in midfield by that. Wrexham started to create chances, and Record very, very prominent in this middle phase of the first half. Record surging forwards and playing the ball to the edge of the area for Angus, who swiftly turned and shot from 20 yards and ripped a shot just wide of the right post of Thompson, flat-footed. Then Record with an absolute stinger from 30 yards, a brilliant full-length catch to his right by Thompson. It was a hell of a hit, and it was a hell of a catch, I promise you. And within a minute, we got the same at the other end, Dibble showing Thompson, whatever you can do, I can do. Colclough this time from 25 yards, drilling it in inside the right post. Fantastic contact, and Dibble at full stretch, getting a fingertip to it to push it round the post. A magnificent save. And then Wrexham got the breakthrough. 36th minute, and it was again quick thinking. A combination we've seen a few times in this situation. Wrexham get free kicks in midfield, and Jay Harris wins a free kick. He's immediately looking around, and Hall Johnson is immediately making a run. Harris dinked a clever free kick around the back of the fence. I don't know, can you call it a quick free kick? It sort of was. He didn't take it straight away though, because he's waiting for Hall Johnson to arrive. It was beautifully done. He dinked it in. Hall Johnson on the right hand side drilled a good cross into the near post, and there was Kwame Thomas at close range to drill it home. I want to make a little point about Thomas here. That goal, by the way, meant he's now scored more goals this season than in any other season in his career, which is interesting. But okay, he's a target man. Yeah, I don't think anyone would argue with that. He's a lot more than that, though. And a couple of the goals he scored lately, the one at Eastleigh and this one, just showed that if you don't give him typical target man service, he can be very valuable. The Eastleigh one just showing that when he runs onto things, he can really thunder through a defence. And this one, and it's about the third time he scored a goal like this, at least this season, he's actually a 6-yard box striker, which is rather nice. You know, how many times we complained in recent years about not having somebody who attacks the 6-yard box. Well, think about it. He attacks the 6-yard box. He scored a lot of tap-ins. And that's something that we might be able to exploit. When he arrived, I thought, I like him. He looks like he's got good qualities, but typical target man who will set things up for another striker. Now I'm looking at him and thinking, well, if we are driving stuff into the box for him, he could actually start to become a scorer himself. Anyway, Wrexham finished half strongly and could easily have gone 2-0 up. A free kick on the left flank, a good 30 yards out, and Young ripped in a shot. Thompson again, completely flat-footed, probably didn't expect it, hit the base of the left-hand post and bounced out. So by half-time, okay, Dibble was a busy keeper, but the fact of the matter was Wrexham hit the post twice, scored, missed a close-range header, and forced Thompson into an excellent save. Credit to Altrincham, who didn't respond well to going behind in the first half. They came out all guns blazing in the second, pushed Wrexham back. I felt less comfortable about this phase of play than I was with the first half, and they got the equaliser 6 minutes into the second half, although what a shame for Christian Dibble, because he'd done so well, but he will be disappointed with the goal. It was another long ranger, Colclough again. The man at Dibble had denied it his best save, tipping it round the post, this time from a similar range. He drilled it with good accuracy and good power into the top left corner, but Dibble got across well, got both hands to it, but it burst through his hands and went in anyway, and he'll be disappointed with that. Strong wrists, strong hands. A keeper will want to be saving those once they've got to them. However, after a little period in which Wrexham looked shaken, Wrexham started to get their rhythm going again and really impose themselves on the game. Young did well from a corner, sweeping a horror in, which I think was going to go in, to be frankly. He swept it to the far post. Nobody could get a touch, and it was looking like it was going in inside the far post, but Malarkey was on the far post and was able to head the ball clear to safety. And then Wrexham continued to threaten from set pieces. A free kick on the right flank levelled the edge of the area. Jamie Record stepped up and ripped one of those cross-come shots, which flew across the goal mouth. No one could get a touch. And then again, with Thompson beaten, went just wide of the far post. But Wrexham were really pushing hard, looking for the winner. Harris with an excellent tackle on Malarkey again, who was hesitating in the middle of the pitch. He fed Thomas. Thomas ran from the halfway line into the area, drove in a shot. Richie Sutton did really well to make a challenge and block it behind for the corner. Sutton picking up an injury which a couple of minutes later would lead to him going off, but not before. He'd been treated and then was on the pitch as Wrexham scored their winner, because from the corner, Young swept it in. A defender at the near post jumped but could only flick it on, classic near post corner routine, and Thomas at the far post met it with a peculiar, perfectly judged looping header back across the keeper and inside the far post. If you're watching the stream, you may have heard one of the commentators say that they thought it was over. Well, I've got to be honest with you, I did. When he made contact, I thought, oh, he's ballooned it, and I looked down to start making notes, and then I looked up and saw them celebrating and thought, oh, it was quite a deceptive floating. The folha seca, the dry leaf, that's what they call them in Brazil. Free kicks that you dink over the wall and then they just gently drift downwards into the net. And he managed to do it with his head. That's pretty clever. So Wrexham ahead halfway through the second half. Obviously, we had to prepare ourselves for Altrincham to come back at us. But if I'm perfectly honest, I never really felt massively threatened by them. They did carve out a couple of chances. Costello again cutting in, this time from the right and drilling his 20-yard shot. Dibble did well to get down low to his left to parry it away, although I would have to say it wasn't right in the corner, and I think again Dibble would expect to block it, but it was good work still. And then as we entered the last 10 minutes, there was a moment of hope when Hancock swept in it across to the near post. Carrington got to it, but could only poke it to Coldclough 10 yards out. It was a chance, but he pulled it quite badly wide. And after that, it was the opposite of last Saturday. There was no panic. There was no sitting too deep. And Wrexham looked dangerous on the break. That was similar to Saturday, but didn't look under any threat. In fact, Wrexham really, with 3 minutes left, could have put it beyond all doubt. Jordan Davis again with a lovely through ball down the right channel. Hall Johnson one-on-one with the keeper, tightish angle, but he'd opted to lash it rather than place it and slammed it over the bar. And in the last minutes of the 90, Wrexham had a shout for a penalty. I think a hopeful shout, although I wouldn't mind seeing it again. It was a very clumsy challenge by Ali Smith, lunging in at Angus. I think he played the ball, but he did go to ground and sort of clatter in. It was worth asking the question. 4 minutes of added time, no real worries. Right at the end of that, there was a corner. It was swung in. Dibble punched it clear comfortably. And that was the final whistle. An excellent performance by Wrexham. They earned a good win against a good team. And got revenge for that really annoying home defeat against Altrincham at the start of December. We went into that game in 4th place. We ended it in 7th and dropped out of the playoffs the following Saturday when we lost to Torquay. Now we're back in the playoffs again. That's good news. As for the team, Dibble, well, right, firstly, okay, he's got to blame himself to some extent for the goal. He'll be frustrated with that. That's perhaps what denies me from, or stops me, should I say, from saying he's man of the match. Because he was excellent. He made a string of fine saves, especially in the first half, to keep Altrincham at bay. Really, really excelled himself, again, apart from that one unfortunate moment. Across the back, Kelleher continues to be in supreme form, dominant in the penalty area, using the ball pretty well coming out as well. Either side of him, French did well. He's solid defensively. He's, we saw in his debut, quite direct with his use of the ball, and that asks questions. And I really do like the look of him. On paper, he looked like a high quality signing, and he seems to be delivering so far. He had a couple of shaky moments right at the start, but he settled into it well. He had a slightly more, in some ways, the most difficult job of the 3 central defenders, because Records tends to start his runs forwards from deeper and offer more support at the back. Hall Johnson tends to start his runs forwards from slightly higher at the pitch. So often French would not have the support of Hall Johnson because he committed himself. And also, he often wouldn't have the option of passing it to his right because Hall Johnson hadn't got back yet. So he was sometimes put in awkward positions when he had the ball because he didn't have as many options, but he would keep his cool weight and play the sensible pass. And he often was exposed to Coldclough, who was perhaps Altringham's most dangerous player, but he handled him pretty well. Like I said, Coldclough was a threat, but it was mostly from long-range shots. Sorry about the hiccups, I'm not buffering, I'm just hiccuping. Also, the wing-backs had good games. Hall Johnson, again, getting forwards to good effect. When he starts getting his service right, as he did in this match, he's a threatening prospect. Got another assist to go with the one he got last Saturday. And on the left-hand side, well, Record, since he's come back into the team, has just been outstanding. In fact, frankly, has been a player I thought we'd bought. I thought he did fine before he was dropped, but not spectacular. And I'd always rated him at Solihull, so it was brilliant to see him now in these 3 games, really getting forwards, getting in the 6-yard box, scored 2 goals. He's threatening, he's taking good set pieces, he's defending well. Very impressive. Centre mid, Again, I mean, I tell you, Luke Young, again, not so much eye-catching, but a lot of hard work being put in, a lot of energy. He was often the one who was pressing the Altrincham defenders and deep midfielders to try and stop them from getting the ball out. Jay Harris alongside him again made a couple of little mistakes early on, but after that started to really impose himself on the middle of the pitch, passing the ball well, winning good tackles. He got a deserved yellow card and started worrying whether he might get another, but no, another controlled performance. Jordan Davis again very pleasing. Interesting to see him the deepest generally of the midfielders, and occasionally, I don't know, I mean, his tackling's good and he won a lot of tackles. Occasionally you can get nudged off the ball, you can get, sort of muscled off it. So I wonder whether I'd like him a little higher up, more in the Luke Young role, getting into the other half more often. But then, having said that, he did get forwards into good positions. He's good at driving forwards when he's intercepted the ball, and he had some passes of real quality. The commentators in the stream were saying how they rated Davis, but they didn't see him until the last 20 minutes. I don't agree. I thought he had a very good first half. His use of the ball was extremely intelligent. And then up front, Diorangus, I think, still settling in a little bit, but he's got threat. I still feel when I look at him, he's going to do something. He had one snapshot. I think the fact that he's got good movement is also helping. I think we have more threat going forwards because of him, even though he's generally not the one getting on the end of it. And then Kwame Thomas, man of the match again. Brilliant. Tremendous 2-5 performances in 4 days. 2 goals. Occupied the centre-backs, dominated the centre-backs, often linked up well also, and could easily have had a hat-trick, hit the post, missed a fairly easy chance when it was 0-0. Like I said, I think he was unsighted. Dominant performance. Great stuff. Oh, and some stuff happened off the pitch as well, I'm told. I don't know. Happy days. The final score of Altrincham 1, Wrexham 2. I'm Mark Griffiths from the Wrexham AFC Media Team, and please, chaps, please subscribe. Subscribe to the podcast on your regular podcast app. You'll get Dragonheart and all that good stuff as well. Should be a fun Dragonheart this week. We've got quite a bit to talk about. Subscribe to the YouTube channels. All of this makes money for the club. All of this helps us to carry on doing the good work we like to do for you. So please comment, review, subscribe, click bells, do all those things, and support the club.
Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe as well so you don't miss out on any of our content, and click the bell to get notifications.